welcome back to another episode of Sync Season 3. And to kick things off, got a very special guest in the Sync studio. And I'm going to start off, Burt, with a basketball analogy. And you're not just a triple threat, but you'd be a hexa threat. And if I got all the bases covered, we've got publisher, producer, DJ, engineer, composer, music supervisor. Want to introduce Burt Blackarach. Welcome, Burt. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Charles?
I'm doing great.
I would prefer personally a baseball reference because I play baseball. I coach a high school baseball team at the moment. So I'm like, did he do his research? You should have said baseball. But yeah, I love baseball.
What did I leave out? Well, I threaded in the basketball because I know you had done a piece with Russell
Yeah,
Westbrook,
absolutely.
Which we'll talk about more. But yeah,
baseball is 5 tools. So triple threat for basketball, but there's 5 tools for baseball. So there's even more.
I like it. Yes, and great time to be in LA with everything, all the teams that we have to celebrate. But yeah, Burt, tell me, in a tip of the hat, you had done a podcast with on Pan and Zoom with Sati Gossett, and my goal here is not to reduplicate that amazing podcast or interview that you had with him, but would love to sort of, in the hour that we have, weave in a little bit, because your story and sort of the origin story of how you broke into the music biz and continue to build and huge success in multiple lanes. But let's start with publishing. And if, I know it's sort of one of those things, Burt, that would you agree, in the age of Spotify and independent artists and digital streaming, not many folks know what does a publisher do. And if you could touch on briefly, there's mechanical royalties, there's streaming royalties. And I find that a lot of independent artists, they're leaving money on the table if they don't have a publishing administrator.
That's it's really cool that you just brought that up. I think publishing is the ownership of a song. So I would look at publishing as I own 50% of this song, and 50% of all money that this song generates comes to me. The other 50% of the revenue comes from owning the master. And I learned at a young age what a master was. And it's still a foreign concept, but when I was 14 years old, my parents had split up. My mother came to me and said, "Do you want to run our publishing company?" My mother started one of the first Black family-owned publishing companies, believe it or not, in 1971. People didn't really have their own publishing companies then, but let alone a Black family. So she was very savvy. She was an artist as well. And she just saw the publishing game, and she says that's what she really enjoyed more than being an artist. So she became savvy at publishing. So when I was 14, she said, "Do you want to run the publishing company?" And I was like, "Yeah." What's publishing? So I was getting schooled on publishing at the age of 14 just to understand it. And I remember I was 15 to her, and I was saying to her, what's a master? I still don't understand the concept of a master. Yeah. And the reason that's why I brought this up was the master is the actual recording that you're listening to, that version of that song. So that version of that song generates 50% of the pie, and publishing generates 50% of the pie. So I learned early on how important publishing was, because that's where you get the money. That's what we call mailbox money. Go to the mailbox, and that money's there. If you don't control the publishing, you're not going to get that mailbox money. So that was one part of your question. Then there was another part of your question I had to answer, which was...
Yes, so in the age of streaming and mechanicals and, back when we came
Got
up.
it.
Yeah.
Got it. So I just had this conversation. I had another meeting before I got with you. And there's this company that I don't think I'm supposed to say the name.
Sure.
And I know what he was showing me was super secret, not to reveal too much. But what I'll say is that this business is diabolical, and it's purposefully meant to be confusing.
Mhm.
The powers that be benefit on making sure that we don't understand what publishing is,
Yeah.
what mechanicals are, what writers share, how to collect the money, how to collect it in the United States and
Mhm.
Canada and
Mhm.
Japan, understanding all of these different territories, because each place, Germany, Japan, they're different territories,
Mhm.
collect money. Your songs play, they generate money, there's money sitting there,
Yeah.
but your label, even your publishers benefit by not letting you know how to get these monies, how to register your songs. So
Mhm.
he was talking to me about
Mhm.
song registration. He's talking about copyright registration.
Yeah.
He's showing me these lists, and it's showing my song is registered 45 different places in on ASCAP, but that same song is only registered 8 places on BMI, and it's only registered in 2 places in Germany. And that all of those little holes
Yeah.
are pennies, you know,
Yep.
and you start adding these pennies and dollars up, and that's real money.
Yep.
So um, the biggest part about this music business, and it's something that I still work on every day, is copywriting your music, registering your music, and trying to make sure all of your ducks are in a row. Because each duck that's not in a row, that is money that's leaking out.
Yeah.
And even the biggest people in the game have no idea how this works. And I think that's what's lost in this business
Yeah.
is the actual business side of it. We get so caught up in creating the music, making great music, because this is what I'm on the earth for, is to
Yeah.
share my art,
Yeah.
if I don't get the art out of my system, then I become depressed. I need to share my art,
Mhm.
but then I don't get the benefit off the art because now I see it's not even registered in Germany and Japan.
100%. And I think, the last, and shout out to the Guild of Music Supervisors, but I know you were on a panel, it was a listening session. And I've been a sync agent since 2000, Bert, and you and I at the past we've walked more than ever. Sync today, everyone, it's almost like an NFT. Folks are jumping in thinking, oh, easy money, easy money. But like you said, if that attention to detail, you know, what's a Q sheet? Collect at the source worldwide. Oh, is there a misspelling in the Q sheet and you're not getting your 100% your writer and your publishing share? What does it mean to be uh, independently published? So I think, we're just scratching the surface, and the goal of this chat is to, like you said, awaken folks from their slumber, because artists, like you said, left brain, right brain, you can create all day, but unless you
Yeah.
have a management team behind you, you have your accountant, your finance team collecting every penny.
Yeah.
We're leaving money on the proverbial table. But I think, Bert, one of the chats, one of the things that in your conversation with Sati that came out was, so from publishing, what came next into opening the door to work with Public Enemy and Chuck D and the Bomb Squad? Was it then came your foray into being a DJ? I would reckon.
The DJ was the first thing.
Ah,
The DJ was the first thing. The publishing was always around as a kid. So
okay.
I would see statements as a kid and stuff. But, at 14, at 15 is when I got into DJing, is when I had this aha moment. Like, well, that's what I want to do. I love that. That's really cool. So
Uh-huh.
that was my aha moment. So it went from understanding what publishing is to DJing. And then DJing led into, I want to make that music that I'm DJing. I can make that. And then it turned into, I want to make that and I want to be able to play it out. And then there was this big disconnect when I started listening to my music, and I says the quality isn't good enough. I need to learn how to engineer. And if I can learn how to engineer and make my music sound better, then I can be more competitive. So this is how kind of my brain worked, and
Yeah.
it's just what I did. So I put it out there in the ether that I wanted to engineer, and my father passed away. And at his funeral, I kid you not, this guy pulls up in a U-Haul truck, and his U-Haul truck is full of studio equipment. And he says, hey, I'm moving from Michigan to LA. I'm opening up a recording studio over there in Burbank. Do you want to come work with me?
Wow.
You know, I met the guy. I think I roadied when I was a kid for a few gigs, and I think he was there. Personally, I don't remember him as a kid, but you know, my father had such a impact on a lot of people. Maybe he took pity. I don't know, but he didn't know that I wanted to engineer. So I said yes. I did that.
Yeah.
2 years later, I get the Grammy on the Temptations,
Yeah.
and while that's happening, I've been passing my music around, and I get a call from James Cameron's team saying that we're using your music in our pilot episode for Dark Angel, with starring Jessica Alba. We want to bring you on board to do additional music. And when I went and watched the pilot, I saw that Public Enemy did the theme song.
Wow.
And then I said, whoa, Public Enemy did the theme song. And Randy was like, yeah, I'll introduce you to him. And I, thought he was just jerking me around. Rap Party, he introduced me to him. I gave them a pitch on what I thought we could do in urban music as being synced into TV, because there's just no urban companies that are making music to sync into TV. And this is in 2000. So I was really ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And they loved it. We did it. I did 3 CDs of, music to be synced. Then that kind of fell apart for other reasons. But I was on the forefront of, if I could have kept that sync going, making urban music for sync, starting in 2003 until now, I would have been extreme music or APM, or had a big chunk in it. So that's how I got with Public Enemy, and then it just kind of just kept snowballing. So you never know how it's going to happen, but you just got to kind of do something. You got to do something and push towards something, and you don't know what's going to unfold.
Love it. And reading up, correct, like you said, when you got the call from James Cameron, initially it was they wanted to license some songs for the pilot, and then that also opened up the door to you being the composer on the show.
Right, I got to do additional music. So Joel McNeely was the composer, and we actually sat down and wrote some songs together for the show. So I always like to say, hey, I got to compose, because I was writing music to scenes that they were buying from me.
Amazing. I mean, and that I went back and I remember when that show came out. It had a dark, moody. It was Dark Angel. It was yeah. And I think if you want to thread the needle, because on the same hand, let's talk about your folks on the publishing side. You're still continuing this day to be the torchbearer and finding places for re-records and artists to sample from the catalog. Yeah, if you want to touch on that.
I think that's the next, creating new arts from old arts is the epitome of mailbox money. So if I can take something that I've got and somebody can turn it into something new, and I'm participating in it with them, it's just a no-brainer. And how can I exploit it? How can I get more people interested in doing that? Right? Oh, you just reminded me. I got to send something off to folks.
Sure.
I actually got an email yesterday about somebody wanting to sample the stuff for a TV show.
Oh, nice.
And I said I would send something, and I forgot to.
All good.
I'll make that at 11.
Sure.
10. Perfect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, create new works, and I'm all about it. And I still own all the publishing.
Wow.
On all these songs. There's some publishing that's supposed to revert back. So that was one of the conversations I was having earlier with this company on how can I get these 20 songs that were released in 69, 70, 71 to revert back, and maybe even claim the master on them. And I'd also like to, but I want to get those to revert back. Oh, and then we have all these demo recordings of all the songs that were released by my father. Wrote so many songs, and there's like 60 albums where he has songs on.
Wow.
And if I was in my other studio, you would see all the records and all the stuff. So I can't show it. I love to show it.
Sure.
But those songs that were released by Dionne Warwick and Roberta Flack and Brenda Russell and all these really cool artists, I've got the demos of those. So I own those masters.
Goodness.
So I've got
What?
my own masters that I own,
Wow.
and then I control the publishing. So I don't have to go to the Dionne Warwick song on her album
Right.
and try to pitch it to people. And then I got to get Universal on board saying, hey, we're going to sample this Dionne Warwick thing. I got the publishing, you got the master. I'm like, hey, you guys want the demo? I got the demo version. It's not Dionne, it's my dad singing, but we can do
Right.
business. So I
Yeah.
find a lot of value in that. And being a producer, being a hip hop producer early on, that's all we would do is sample. So I know how valuable sampling is. I don't really sample that much anymore. I haven't for
Sure.
years for
Yeah.
sync reasons, as you know,
Yes.
right? It's harder to deal with if you got samples to license stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as far as the
No.
publishing and the James
Sure.
Cameron.
And to thread the needle, because your father played keys and correct, it was the Motherlode was the band out of Canada,
Correct.
and there was a cut called Shell that ASAP Rocky, DJ Shadow, I mean,
Yep. Soft Shell.
Soft Shell
Yep. That is
only.
it. Yep. So those are the ones that I'm trying to get the rights to revert to. It's
Nice.
time. The window is open where legally they have to give the rights back. So that's that whole Motherlode stuff. There's 2 albums.
Okay.
And between those 2 albums, there's about 19 copyrights.
I see.
So those are the ones that I'm trying to get the publishing back. I don't own the publishing on them.
Okay.
But that's a different conversation.
100%.
I've worked around that. That's a different conversation.
No, and it's fascinating, Bert, because and then the track "When I Die," I know in Canada that was on the charts. I mean, and
it was number 1.
number 1. Ah, and I'm going to share on the screen because I mean that cut, because to thread it, re-listening to that cut, because in the 90s I worked at EMI Capital for a reissue label called The Right Stuff. So we had Solar Records, Philly International, and High Records putting out the reissues, and just hearing, and I think correct stateside When it came out on, was it Buddha Records? I think
That would be yeah. I think technically stateside, it was Buddha. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But talk about, I mean, here, that's amazing, Bert. So yeah, this for those who know and doing the homework on the samples, I mean, ASAP Rocky, DJ Shadow, and I happen to have a copy of the vinyl on DJ Shadow, but just some amazing works here, and that is and I just pulled this up randomly, but I know there's tons of sites that have all.
Yeah. What did it say? Number 18 in the United States.
Let's see here.
Yeah, 18 in the United States. Got to number 1 in Canada, and he's inducted in the Songwriting Hall of Fame in Canada because of that song.
Wow.
I think he's the second Black person in the Songwriting Hall of Fame in Canada, behind Oscar Peterson. And he's not even Canadian. My dad's not Canadian. Oscar is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And to thread it, and it sounds like, and were you born in Canada? You have dual citizenship, right? U.S. and Canadian?
Correct.
Oh,
but
man.
I was born in the United States by about like 3 months.
Wow.
3 months earlier, I would have been born in Canada.
I see. Interesting. That is fascinating. I mean, the way, that's a great thing to have, dual citizenship. You've got the plan B if...
I got plan B. Yeah.
Indeed. But, no, I digress. But yeah, it's just, having worked on the label side with, when there was Rhino Records and the good old days of, we could walk to, up to Tower Records on Sunset.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I'm going to thread the needle, or Aaron's Records on back in the day. And now I think, would you agree, Bert, the challenge for not only labels, supervisors, I mean, there's no shortage of music. Music's coming out globally, and there's thousands of tracks on the DSP. So, what advice, if wearing your supervisor hat, I mean, you must be inundated with cuts that are being sent to you.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. I can't even play the game anymore, where I just can't listen to stuff. it's just impossible with the amount of music you get. So then it turns into relationships.
Yep.
And it turns into right time. Hey, hit me at the right time. It's hard. It's hard. But when I get an opportunity, I try to remember who's on the forefront of my brain. I'm like, I just had a couple of songs I was looking for. So I'm like, who can I? Oh, Sherry, Eddie, Peter. So the people that are on the front of my brain, I hit up immediately.
Yeah.
Then I'm trying to get some stuff from Sony and Warner Chappell. So I said, hey, I want to get these songs, but if you got other songs to pitch too. So then it's just who's on your brain. So then it kind of puts you back into, well, I guess it is good to send me a Starbucks gift card. I guess it is good to send me this to keep it on the tip of your brain because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I still say that as an artist myself, and artists just need to release as much music as possible. You don't know what's going to hit. They didn't know When I Die was going to hit. Rob Bass and Easy Rock didn't know It Takes Two was going to hit. The label told them, hey, we need a single. You gave us this album. We don't have a single. And they went and made that song in 45 minutes. You just got to throw stuff out there. I wish I was better at it. I wish I was releasing more stuff. I've got 2 albums that I can't get across the finish line. I got this album I did with a European artist called Burt Blackarach Does London. Songs are done. There's 9 songs. 6 of them are ready to be mixed, and the other 3 I still have to rearrange. But I like, gosh, dang, I need to get this across the finish line so I can put this out. I'm so proud of it. And I got 2 house albums that I need to, I need to release these. And that's part of the frustration.
Sure. Yeah. And I'll share your Bandcamp page in a moment. And I noticed that it was, because, house music's, all the New York, whether it's Kenny Dope Gonzalez or Ministry Sound, Strictly Rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a DJ as well in college.
Really?
So,
where at?
Yeah, I went to Cal State Northridge here in LA. And
so I went there for a year and a half.
How cool!
Yeah, I went there for a year and a half.
In music, or what was
just general business. I would say it was business administration. Like I want to take business classes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was too busy DJing and drinking. So then I stopped CSUN and then I went to I think Valley, and then I went up to Humboldt State. And I went up to Humboldt for a couple of years and then came back down.
Very nice. Yeah. I mean, I know Mike Curb Music has a lot of philanthropic and tie-ins with CSUN, but
that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Right.
Yeah. Rob One. Did you ever do with Rob One?
I think I have in the past.
Right, because I think he was a CSUN DJ. Rob One was a big deal out here, and that was in the early 90s. Rob One was a big deal down there. Whatever.
Yeah, because I graduated in like 94.
Okay.
From CSUN. But Burt, to thread it, and like you said, releasing the music, being in that moment in the 30-second vignette. I don't know if you saw it, but it went viral. But Seal was talking about when he was signed to Warner Brothers and he put out "Kiss to a Rose." They pushed it to radio. The label was like, "This track is dead. It's not doing anything." And he got a call from the producer for Batman. He said, "I got this perfect scene," and that sync for "Kiss to a Rose" relaunched the record. I mean, like you said, Tom, what you're talking about, you never know what's going to hit.
Yep. You got to put it out, man. You got to put it out. You just don't know. You really don't know. I did a record in 2007. No traction, and I got a license for it. Some movie in Europe starring Sam Jackson and a bunch of other people. It's a Public Enemy song. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this song is getting licensed 14, 15, 17 years later. You just don't know, man. And it wouldn't get licensed if we didn't put it out, right?
100%. And, we'll spend a moment, Burt, because, talk about sampling and one, Beastie Boys, the Paul's Boutique record.
Right.
That record could not be released today because of all the sample issues. But back when I was at Capitol then, let's talk about AI looking at AI as a tool, just like sampling was back in the day. Folks were like, oh, you can't sample unless you do it the right way, you clear it. And now, yeah, clear the sample, put it in a song. What are you seeing? Because I've been on the internet, you hear about folks pitching music and they used AI and they weren't upfront with it. And the supervisor's like, yo, this is not you. And have you come across that? Folks trying to pitch music to you with AI vocals or?
If they have, I don't know it.
And that's the scary part, right? Because
I've done a couple songs with AI. And what a tool, but you also feel like a tool. Right? It's really hard to give something up and feel good about it. Like, yeah, this is my shit. And it's like, it really isn't. But there's ways to use it where you feel accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
And I found like I can put my own music into AI that I make,
mm-hmm.
and I can put my lyrics into it, and then I can see what it generates. And to me, that's a huge accomplishment. Because now I'm like, oh, I like what they did with the vocal melody, because I'm not great with vocal melodies. I can write good lyrics. I'm constantly, I could show you my phone. I'm just constantly writing, and I got good lyrics, but then I've only got a few melodies available to me. So I found that tool to be like, oh, this is cool. I can find melodies.
Right.
That's like sitting down with a top line writer and coming up with a melody. So I'm getting my lyrics, my music. It adds other instruments to your music, but then it also gives you vocal melody, gives you ways to structure songs. So I'm listening. I said, oh, I would never go 5 beats there. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. I need to try that. So there's ways to make it. And anytime I've tried to say, hey, make me a song about blah, 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 this, that, and you put it in, I'm like, oh, great, but it's not why we do this as artists.
Yes.
Right? There's no satisfaction of releasing your art from your aura. I mean, we have to as artists, we have to share what our gift is. Whether you like it or not, we have to do it. So AI doesn't fulfill that. But if you use it in certain ways, I think there's some cool stuff. I got a couple songs I keep playing. I'm like, oh my God, I love it. This is so good. So good.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, let's touch on at your fingertip between old school analog and now with the DAW and plugins. So when you go in the studio, what's kind of, I'm sure it's a balance of maybe, work on the MPC, what's kind of your process? And it's a mix of DAW and analog gear, or what?
All DAW.
All DAW. Okay.
All DAW. Hey, that's a good word. All DAW. All DAW. But I was watching Jake One yesterday. He was showing how he made the John Cena theme song for the WWF. John Cena has a theme song that he comes out to. And I didn't know Jake One did it. So he was showing how he made it, really cool sample and all that, put an MOP vocal. Wow. And he's showing it. And he's using his ASR 10. And I'm like, the ASR 10 was like 1991. I'm like, this dude's making hit records using this ASR 10, and I'm struggling to get a hit record. So I was talking to my boy about it. Or like, this is crazy. We got this DAW, you got some hardware, outboard gear. You got every plug-in under the sun, the sounds, and this dude's killing with an ASR 10. So I'm not saying that the DAW is better. I just, crazy.
Back to basics.
Sometimes, back to basics, man.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back in time just to because I think you could relate, being a DJ as well from back in the day, where it's like, I've got the Pioneer, whatever, you can hook up to your computer, but 2 1200s, the Radio Shack mixer.
Oh, I love my realistic mixer.
The realistic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. You know.
Exactly. I mean, and old school cassette. And then it's like, hey, let's make an echo by, pause, record, and then lower the level to create an effect, you
Yep.
know.
Yep. Love
And
pause mixes.
pause mix, and you know, and I think you'll appreciate this, but you know, being here in LA, so we had K-Day,
Oh
KDAY
yeah.
radio,
Yep. 1580.
1580. And are they not to? Are they still around?
I think they
Over
are.
the, okay.
I think they are. I don't know if it's the same music, but
Hmm.
I think they're around.
Yeah, and
First hip hop station in the country.
100%. So somehow, I don't know who it was, I made a connect at New York. I was in Capital, LA, so they were sending me DJ Red Alert, WBLS, the mixtapes. So I was like, and then so MC Shan, The Bridge, Schoolie D, KRS-One, Public, of course, PE, Criminal Minded, Poach, all those cuts where I'm like, what is, there's the East Coast sound and then the West Coast hip hop.
Right.
But I mean, and then going to the record store, and then whoever was the head buyer for the hip hop section, he was like, "What is today the Spotify curator?" You know, I go, "What do you
Correct.
got?" Yeah.
And
But
payola, which is the same thing as Spotify. How much money
right?
is your bosses at Capitol giving them to put the record up front with the big cardboard?
Ah,
Yep.
I mean, VIP Records in Long Beach. I mean, it's, someone needs to do a documentary. I think they did one on Tower Records, but you know, that's something, digging in the crates, that there's still a handful of vinyl shops out there. But you know, I'm gonna segue that to, because I love what you do, Burt, on Un-Shazamable. Tell us, and I'm gonna share it up on the screen, but tell us, what's Un-Shazamable?
Un-Shazamable is a performance I came up with. I think part of it was, you know, so when my father died, I was young,
Okay.
and I have known the records that he put out. He had 4 albums.
Mhm.
And so I knew those were actually the second Motherload record I never knew about. So I knew about the other records, but when he passed away, that's when my uncle called me and said, we did a bunch of songs at your parents' house. We had a recording studio. So my parents were smart enough to, when he got a record deal,
Mhm.
he said, instead of spending this 40 grand on going to the recording studio, which the money will go quick, I'm going to buy some equipment. We're going to have a studio at our house so I could write songs and I can be more productive. So that was a brilliant move because he wrote so many songs that, I never heard any of this stuff. So when he died, my uncle said, "Hey, we recorded a bunch of songs at your house, found these tapes. Do you want them?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I'm listening to them, and they're the same songs that were released, but they're demo versions. And to me, they're so much better. They're so raw. And like, I hear why he was in this business. I hear the emotion. I hear this is the piece of him. This was him. So for all of his faults and all of the issues that he had, listening to this takes me to him. Right? I'm like, this is what it was all about for him right here. I hear it. All of the things that he went through. His childhood was horrific. How he was able to dig himself and just dig, so it was a moment.
Mm.
But he was also very, very, I don't know if it's like bipolar or manic or, he was like the greatest guy in the world and then he cuss you out. But anybody you meet has nothing but positive things to say about him. Amazing guy. But he was also very, you have 4 record deals. You work with Alan Toussaint. You do your records at Muscle Shoals. You got a #1 hit record. You're working with everybody under the sun. You get a little jaded that, hey, I put 4 records out. I didn't get where I thought I would be, where I deserve. I'm more than talented enough. I can sing, write, play keys, organ.
Mhm.
So you're still focused on like trying to get your stuff going. So he was very always trying to, hey, go do this for me, or let me reach out to so-and-so, or David Foster used to sleep on our couch. So it's like, hey, David, he needs to do this. And it was constantly him trying to angle to try to get his stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
So when he passed away, and those tapes come to me, there was a moment where I was like, oh, I need to go work these songs. And I said, no, you can't. Because then you're chasing his dream. You got to make your career. You got to build your own thing, and then you can think about it. But you got to, so I just put it off to the side. listened to some of the songs. There's one song I loved, but I just put it off to the side. And then that's when I started engineering. Then I got the Grammy. Then I got Public Enemy. Then I'm doing all these movies and TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
I opened up a marijuana shop, first Black-owned marijuana shop in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Did that, DJing like crazy through the whole time. Then I started touring, and I was touring with Jurassic 5. And then like at 2016, that's when I had okay, I'm tired of DJing other people's music. I've
Yep.
kind of crossed the border on all of these things. I went through 2 passports. I need to perform my own music. And then I said, I got these great demo tapes. What can I do? And I says, I'm going to do a show called Un-Shazamable. And I'm going to play these songs that you can't Shazam because they're demos. I'm going to tell the stories behind them, how they were made, who the players are. This is Toto. This is Rick James. This is, Bob Dylan. This is all. So tell the stories, play a couple songs, tell a story, tell my life story, play my music that I'm making, interweave all of that, show slides that help tell the picture. So then that became my Un-Shazamable. I get to release my own music. I get to focus on what I'm going to focus on. And that's where Un-Shazamable came from.
Amazing. And still to this day, there's oh, here we go. So I linked through.
Right. So this is, I don't have a show coming up. I need to. I just did one in Vancouver in November.
Yep.
We decided that I can't do a show until if I just do a show and then people are going to sign up for it. Like I've tried selling tickets and it's so much work that, I just got to keep building the platform. I got to keep meeting with people like you. I need to keep getting it to where it's undeniable, where people are like, yo, I got it. When are you doing the show? So I got enough people saying, hey, when are you doing the show?
Yeah.
That I could do it. So that's kind of where I wanted to get to. I wanted to do 200 seat arenas. Or theaters was my focus.
Okay.
So it's there. I mean, it's there. It's there. It's just another thing that I'm trying to accomplish.
100%. And it's a testament, the price point, it's independent artist friendly. I mean, that is hats off to you because, for all the history, and the storytelling that you'll share with the ticket holders. Amazing. And then looks like there's through Airbnb, there's a couple of things, right? There's Be a DJ for a Day, and then there's a music mentorship with the Grammy winner.
Yeah.
If you want to tell us about those.
So those are a really, really, really important part of my life. They're really an important part of my growth. That was part of the I need to take this art form under my control. I'm tired of begging promoters. Hey, let me put me on. Hey, bring me on this tour. Hey, like that whole hustle got really, really tired really quickly. So I needed to be able to call my own shots. And the Be a DJ for a Day was Airbnb started this program called Experiences. So if you go on their site, and you're trying to book a room or whatever, you see these tabs. There's another tab that says Experiences.
Yep.
And if you click on that, you go to a city and, you can say, hey, you come to LA. It's like, I can go take the regular LA sightseeing bus tour. I can go to Venice Beach, or you can go downtown. You do all the regular stuff. But if you go to the experience pages, some people have some really cool stuff. Take a hike to the Hollywood sign with an actor, learn how to make ice cream, come to my grandmother's house and we'll teach you how to make tamales. We'll take you on a tour to go take photos of all the iconic places. There's all these really cool niche things. So when you're coming to the town, you can do stuff that's, just different. So when they put that Experiences up, my wife saw it and said, hey, we should do something. And I was like, I don't know, I could do like Be a DJ for a Day or something. And I thought it was a dumb idea. I was like, who's going to like it? But we applied for it.
Yeah.
And just like I was saying before, where you just got to do stuff, you just have to release stuff. We sent it in, didn't hear back from them. And then we heard back from them. And we were the first 30 people on the platform. So they were experimenting. We were one of the first 30. And the guy, Matt Orr, said, you know how I found it? And he said, I was showing somebody how to go through all the submissions. So as I'm showing him going through the submissions, I saw Be a DJ. And I said, oh, that looks cool. Let me pull that off to the side. And then he pulled it off to the side, called. So I got to start under this program where
Nice.
Airbnb is promoting it for you. They take a 20% fee. They've got their whole platform. So people come into LA, one of the biggest places in the world, constantly filtering through. They see that. So people start booking Be a DJ for a day. They come to my house for an hour.
Wow.
And I show them the idea of how do you handle a record. And I show them the concept of scratching. People love it. And then through that, they called and said, hey, we're starting an intimate concert series. Do you have anything? We would love to get you to do something. And then I was like, oh, maybe Un-Shazamable. Maybe I can do an Un-Shazamable show. And so that's how I started out with Airbnb. So that gave me a place to curate it. It helped promote it a little bit. It gives a lot of validity where people like you see it and you're like, oh, that's cool. Wait, what's this Airbnb thing? As opposed to, I got Airbnb behind me and now I've got me behind me. So it just shows a little more validity. And I've been really successful. I was their number one performer on their platform for a while. They flew me to London for their launches, for the Olympic launch. I did the birthday party for Brian Chesky. I don't know how much he's worth, $30-40 billion.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
There's some, and correct if I read correctly, do you ever bring in guests? Because you did a clap, was it DJ Newmark, I think?
Yeah, well, so me and Newmark are best friends.
Okay.
We both started together in high school. We were introduced by our friend Chris, and we just clicked and we started a DJ crew called Bum Rush Productions. And him and I are really wired the same.
Yep.
And so it was a good time for us to meet each other. We were both very focused, business minded. We were both, let's make money, let's buy records, let's buy equipment, let's do more parties, let's get some drum machines, let's produce demos, let's try to. So we were very like minded.
Yeah.
So, without me, he wouldn't be where he is, and he's very clear with that. And I feel the same way with him because at that formative age. So then he got with the group Jurassic 5. I was doing what I was doing.
Right.
And, there was a time when we were digging for records and there was a records swap meet in Pacoima. And I asked the guy, how much for all your records? He said $500. So we got 20,000 records for $500. And that started our crazy record collection.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So me and him still talk every day.
Yeah.
All the time. It's important to find people like that when you're trying to do stuff and you guys are genuine with each other.
100%. Because, something that resonates, and then we'll thread it and just to look at a future project. Because I know, Burt, you had resonated that the project has to be right for you to be both the supervisor and also the composer. And I know, I think it's in post-production, if you want to touch on it. I believe it's a TV show called, is it Trouble Man?
Trouble Man, a movie. That's a movie with a guy named Michael Jai White who was in Black Dynamite. And he wrote this movie. He directed the movie. He's starring in the movie. And he got the movie funded as a black man. Wow. Samuel Goldwyn Mayer is putting it out. So when I met him and I saw that he was doing this, I said, dude, I gotta support you. Like, what are you doing for music? And that's really not his forte. I said, however I can help you. I want to help you because you need support. If you need the support, which I think you do, I want to be a part of this. Yeah. And, I said, I'd love to compose and I'd love to supervise it. And he was like, let's go. Let's do it. So there's there's projects where I think my skill set works well for that. There's other projects where, composing, I'm not the right composer for it. But for this one, like the Russell Westbrook project worked well. The Running While Black worked well. Gaps worked well. So there's projects where it's like, that's my skill set and I can compose, make good music for it. And I can use it, supervise and put songs in it. That's a niche that I'm really strongly passionate about that I'd love to do as much as possible.
Yeah. And I didn't have a chance to fully go down the rabbit hole, but because there's, the Marvin Gaye song Trouble Man, and also wasn't there a blaxploitation film? Was it with Richard Pryor back in the day called
So,
Trouble Man?
so the Trouble Man was a movie
Yeah.
that Marvin Gaye did the soundtrack to, and it was a black exploitation film.
Yep.
So when he called his Trouble Man, I was very confused.
Yeah.
I said, wait, is this a ode to, or, are we going retro, or like what was the, so he just, I think I can't speak for him, but I
Sure.
think he just liked the title and he liked the nod,
Yeah.
right? It's like a nod to this. It kind of gives it a identity. It kind of gives it like, hey, if you know that, then you got an idea of what this is. And if you have no idea about this, then you're going to get what you're going to enjoy this. And then it's going to tie you back to that. So it's, it's got funny moments. It's, it's badass. He's beating people up and trying to find the, where is she? Who stole her? Who's the criminal entity that stole her? I love the project. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I love the project. It was cool. It was good for my skill set. It was good for me to fine tune my skills. It showed me where my weaknesses were, things that I need to get better at. Things shouldn't have taken as long as they did from my end. And I get to work on that. I need to work on that.
And I don't have it up here, but Michael Epps, some of the actors, it's
Method Man, Michael Epps, Method Man, Michael Epps, Lala. Oh, Orlando Jones.
Okay, that's right.
Orlando Jones was really good in it. He's very convincing. He's a really good actor. Really good actor. He did an amazing job. Epps was funny and Method Man was good. There's some really comical moments in there. I want to share one, but I shouldn't.
We'll save that for next time.
Yeah.
But I'll be sure, when we air this up, we'll make sure we'll share a link not only to your website, ways folks can connect with you, and also but to the film, but to, button things up, because I always like to, sort of the overall, and it's not by accident, but I think, this was a great quote from you from a Voyage LA interview, and they had asked the question to you, has luck played a meaningful role in your life and business? And your quote was, I once was told that you create your own luck. And then you said it never resonated until you studied your past and realized that the opportunities that you had deemed as lucky were actually created by your own efforts. And, tip of the hat, because connecting all those dots, and life is our greatest teacher. And, I know what you also had said, Burt, is as an artist working in the music industry, unpredictable cash flow, the urge to be creative, and then also if we don't create, battling with the dark demons of depression, if you will, and that need to be able to connect with our community.
I mean, I get really, really depressed when I'm not doing what I should be doing creatively. And sometimes you get stuck in that circle that, you start circling, you don't realize that's part of what the issue is. And then when you start to try to be creative, then it opens up a whole nother can of worms. Well, how am I doing it? Am I doing it on this software? What am I doing it for? Well, this doesn't sound good. Well, I don't like how it sounds, so I'm not going to do stuff. And you start it's just this whole mind thing.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here in a room all alone. You don't have a drummer and a bass player and a guitar player and a singer to all vibe off of to like, hey, I'm feeling down, but he's feeling good. And I can catch that vibe, right? Okay, that feels good. It's like a team thing. It's, I say a lot, this saved my life. DJing music saved my life. I was a good kid. I didn't get in trouble or anything, so it wasn't like I was going down a dark path and I was, one of those stories. But it gave me a focus. Playing baseball all through college. That was my focus, and making music and DJing was my focus. And taking music away, I don't know what my focuses would have been if I would have been, down a different path. I wanted to be an accountant. I'm really good with numbers, but then I'm wondering if I was an accountant this whole time, I know what I would be thinking about. I didn't make music. I didn't give it a shot.
Yeah.
So like this, it's as frustrating as this business is, as inconsistent as the money flow is. Constantly trying to reinvent yourself. My Uncle Mouse is really good at it. So he's been an influence to me. He pivoted really early on and he keeps pivoting. This is all really mental health. This whole music thing it's mental health. And the people I know who don't do it, who want to do it, who aren't doing it like they want, I know it mentally frustrates them. And, and then I'll say this.
Yeah.
When you talk about creating luck, how lucky I am. And, it's like, wow, no, this is the opportunity. I have a neighbor behind me who is racist, who has dropped the N-bomb on us, who absolutely hates us still don't know why, me and my wife. My next door neighbor were best friends. My next door neighbor, best friends. Like everybody we get along with. This person hates us. So they called the city on me because of my recording studio. Well, I had a little Airbnb in the back corner and they were pissed off about it, I guess. So they called the city because of that. City came out and saw my recording studio, my garage, which I turned into a recording studio. So they assumed that's what it was. They didn't see the Airbnb I had in the back corner. So I was like, okay, great. They don't see that. They go in my studio, they check it out. They say, okay, they come back and they say, you got to tear it down or you got to turn it back into a garage or you got to pull permits. And you got to open up all the walls and pull permits. And I know if I open up the walls, this is building from 1920. So I was stuck. I either got to tear it down or turn it back into a garage. When it was a garage, it was awful. So I drew up plans. I prolonged the process as long as possible, got permits, still kept the studio going. COVID hit. I got a 2-year reprieve. They came back out and they're like, what are you going to do? You got to do something or we're pulling the plug on you. So I tore it down. As I was tearing it down, I said, I got to find a studio. So I start looking around for a studio and it's really expensive. I'm trying to figure it out. Can't figure out what to do. One of my best friends, godfather to his son, works at a major picture studio. There's only 3 of them. So it's one of the major picture studios.
Yeah.
He's been there for 20 years. And I mentioned to him, I'm looking for something. He's like, you know what? We may have something. So he asks his boss says, hey, we got something for you. So this is what they had for me, right? I'm moving out right now to my new studio, but this is what they had for me. So now, I told them I needed 9 months. So the 9 months came up. They said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to stay. And they said, okay, we can't keep this room. We got to move you to a different room. So they built me a brand new room. I'm moving to a different room on this major studio lot. So is that luck? Or that opportunity? My reputation, my best friend, the people that he introduced me to, they all know who I am. They look, they see. It's like, no, that's not luck. I created my opportunity. So now I'm on a major motion picture studio with Tony Scudellari is in the building next to me. Tony's right next to me.
Tony.
Yeah.
And your corollary, what you had put, and we'll wrap it with this, Burt, and thank you for the insights and thread that needle. Nothing motivates you more than exceptional work ethic followed by raw and brilliant talent.
Correct.
So you got to have that. Yeah.
Correct. Correct. You are right, my friend.
I mean,
you are right. I thank you for even being interested in talking with me and moving the schedule around from last week. And hope you got your kid off to school okay.
I did. Thank you. No, thanks, Burt. And no, I would love to have you back in the future because these types of, we could chat for hours, but thank you so much for taking the time out. And I will share all the links so folks can connect and see your future
Cool.
work. But yeah,
will you do little snippets of it that I can post?
Yes, we will do the socials and we can curate that and make sure before we share it, I'll have your team look at it. And 100%.
Cool. Because we'll post the hell out of it, as you know very well.
Indeed. But hang tight one sec, Burt, while we wrap. But
Okay.
for everyone in tuning in, thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next episode of Sync Riffs. And until then, catch you on the other side. Namaste. Thanks, Burt. Talk to you in a little bit.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. If you need anything, just hit me up on IG. Go.